How's it going, guys? It's Pride here, back with part 10 of What If the Earthlings Were Strong. In the last episode, Krillin fought Gamma 2, and Gamma 2's strength was a real eye-opener. Not only did he dismantle Krillin's new technique, revealing a lot of flaws in it that was based around Ultra Instinct, but Gamma 2 also displayed to Krillin how much Dr. Hedo's inventions have improved with so little time working on them. This now leads us to the present moment, with Krillin at the Red Ribbon's headquarters so he can get a better grasp of what is going on and what they are planning, so he and the rest of his allies can be prepared for the upcoming battle that he knows is unavoidable. This is a true test for the remaining Z Warriors and the Protectors of Earth. Let's see how they do. Gamma 2 has finally arrived at the Red Ribbon's army's headquarters. He is taking his time walking through the base before he meets up and debriefs on his latest mission with his curator and Gamma 1. As Gamma 2 is walking through the base, he is chatting it up with a lot of the officers and soldiers and workers that he walks past, sometimes even referring to them on a first name basis, making jokes and often asking how their lives are going for them so far since the last time he has spoken to them. Unbeknownst to him, Krillin is listening in very intently. He's taking all the information he can about the base while under Gamma 2's cloak. So far, the infiltration mission has been a rousing success. Not only does Krillin know where the Red Ribbon's army's headquarters are, but he's also getting to know Gamma 2 even better. He's actually come to the conclusion that Gamma 2 is actually not that bad of a guy. In fact, he's pretty great, and it makes Krillin hopeful that Gamma 2's perception on the world in terms of the Red Ribbon Army being the good guys is hopefully not programmed into him, and is maybe just him being misguided. If it was programmed into him, it'd be a lot harder to convince Gamma 2 to see the light, especially if Dr. Hedo doesn't want to reprogram Gamma 2 at all. But Krillin can only hope for the best. Gamma 2 has finally reached the main meeting room where he's going to meet up with Dr. Hedo, and upon entering, Krillin can see that there is another android there, resembling Gamma 2, and he can only assume this is Gamma 1, and immediately Krillin sees the differences between the two, as Gamma 2 is more naive, playful, and even laid back, while Gamma 1 automatically has a demeanor of someone that is taking his job very seriously. Even in the most secure part of the building, he is still on guard. Gamma 1 looks at Gamma 2 and says, "Finally, you have made it. You had us waiting a while." Gamma 2 replies, "Oh, come on, bro. Don't be like that. Look, the important thing is I got the job done. Though I do have to say he was harder to deal with than I expected. Maybe our data is a little off about these guys. If our data is off, then can you even be sure that you defeated him?" "What? Of course I can be. There was nothing left of him by the time I was done. Show me the footage." And then Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 proceeds to watch the fight that Gamma 2 had, and lets Krillin see how Gamma 2 was able to analyze and deconstruct Krillin's own movements and techniques in record time. Dr. Hedo truly went all out when it comes to these creations. Speaking of Dr. Hedo is also there watching, but he's being quiet as someone else is constantly yelling at him, saying how he wasted his time on Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. This person is Magenta. Magenta is going on and on about how Gamma 2 could have lost that fight, and these trash androids can't even really keep up with the grunt. He needs the real project finished today, and is mad at Dr. Hedo for delaying the project in order to make these androids, which Dr. Hedo responds matter of fact like that he is amazing at multitasking, and in fact the project still will be getting worked on right now even if he didn't work on the android. He even goes on to say that it's because of these androids that they know their data is a little off, and he's actually glad that he took more time working on their project. As Krillin is worried and wondering what this project is, Dr. Hedo pulls up a screen showcasing Cell Max in an incubation chamber, seemingly unconscious or asleep, or maybe not even really alive yet. Krillin is horrified to see this, and he wants to blow up the building right now, but he doesn't actually know where this is, as this is only a projection of Cell Max. This isn't actually Cell Max in front of him. Krillin is sensing out with his key to try to find this creature, but sadly, either because it's not alive or is going off the same energy as the androids or protected by the equipment, Krillin can't pinpoint this energy anywhere in the building. It's almost as if Cell Max doesn't exist yet. Dr. Hedo resumes his explanations, telling Magenta that project is nearly complete. The mine was the most important part of this entire project, otherwise you will just have a mindless monster wreaking havoc on the entire world, and an uncontrollable one at that. But because he took extra care of planning and thought that his data might be wrong in advance, Cell Max actually should be finished by the end of the day. Hearing these words calms down Magenta, as he is weirdly excited for Cell Max to be completed. Krillin has relayed all of this information to Gohan, and even Gohan is worried, is telling the boys to be prepared, the fight might start at any moment. Cell Max cannot be released. Gohan and Krillin are talking amongst themselves to see what their best plan of action is. The best thing they can come up with is to apprehend Dr. Hedo and maybe even use him as a hostage in order to get the androids to talk about where Cell Max is at. Back with Gamma 1 and Gamma 2, Gamma 1 has been looking at the screen very intently. Gamma 1 drops his guard a little bit as he is too focused on trying to figure out what is exactly wrong in this video. At that moment, Krillin uses this opportunity of distraction and instant transmission to Dr. Hedo. Is right behind him, uses one hand to grab onto Dr. Hedo and with the other one pulls out a pair of handcuffs as Krillin is about to perform an arrest. However, at that moment, Dr. Hedo says, you seem to think that I'm defenseless, as he presses one of his fingers into the center of his palm, activating one of his implanted defense mechanisms, which sends a shock through his entire body, zapping all those who is in contact with him. This doesn't actually hurt Krillin, but it does get him to let go of Dr. Hedo in surprise, and Gamma 1 stops what he's doing, sprints, and charges Krillin at full speed, almost surpassing the speed of even instant transmission, giving Krillin almost no time to react as Gamma 1 punches Krillin, sends him flying through the air, pulls out his pistol, and unleashes a barrage of shots at Krillin, destroying the ceiling and sending Krillin out of the building at the same time. Krillin's in the air, thinking to himself that, well, I guess it wasn't that easy. Letting Gohan know they now have to fight their way to get to Cell Max. Gohan raises himself and he tells the boys Goten and Trunks to get ready, and he goes over what he wants them to do. Meanwhile, Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 are charging after Krillin, getting ready to tag team him as they both come to the conclusion that he needs to be getting rid of immediately, wasting no time at all. Gamma 2 comes in with an uppercut blow. Krillin blocks it, but he still gets sent up into the air by the fact that Gamma 2 is no longer holding back any of his punches whatsoever, and Gamma 1 is descending from the top with an axe kick, trying to cave in Krillin's head. However, Trunks comes in Super Saiyan 2 and intercepts the kick, with Goten teleporting behind Gamma 1, grabbing onto his cloak, and then to further halt the momentum, and once Gamma 1 stops completely, confused by what just happened, Goten wastes no time to swing Gamma 1 around by the cloak and launch him in a far off direction. Trunks looks at Krillin and says, we'll take care of him. You can fight the other guy, with Krillin saying, be careful. And thus the Z Warriors split off, Krillin going against Gamma 2 and Trunks and Goten going against Gamma 1. Gohan is not participating in the battle, as he has a different plan. Gohan's going to try his hand at infiltration and try to disguise himself as a guard in order to search the entire building more effectively to find Cell Max that's hidden away somewhere on this base. With everybody following their own objectives and the fight finally beginning, we will now start with Krillin to see how well he is doing and how far his preparations have come along. Krillin is now face to face with Gamma 2, and Krillin has already entered stage 1 and stage 2 of his technique. Stage 1 being selflessness, where an aura surrounds and suffuses him, calming his body and making sure he can react instantaneously. Stage 2 is clarity, where he is hyper focused on his opponent, where he is looking for any weaknesses and is devoid of all distractions. Krillin beckons for Gamma 2 to start the fight and moves into the Turtle School's fighting stance, with Gamma 2 looking at Krillin like he has gone insane as he yells, I've already seen through all your moves and tricks. This time you won't make a fool out of me. And Gamma 2 charges and he begins fighting Krillin off the bat at full power, which Krillin has to already go to Kaioken times 10 just to handle, and is slowly ramping it up as the fight goes along. As Gamma 2 is engaging in combat with Krillin, Gamma 2 is realizing that Krillin is a little different than he should be usually, as he thought he had Krillin all figured out and was able to deconstruct his fighting style. However, even though this is the Turtle School's fighting style, Krillin is fighting differently than what he did before. In fact, going off of how Krillin is fighting, this data shows that he's fighting more like Goku right now. There is short confusion, but Gamma 2 works through it and quickly deconstructs that fighting style also, and is about to land his first real hit on Krillin. But that is when Krillin changes up yet again, as Krillin changes forms and goes into Yamcha's fighting style, the Wolf Fang Fist. This change actually throws Gamma 2 off so much that he misses his attack and Krillin is able to unleash his own. Krillin is now at Kaioken times 15 as their fight is getting more and more heated, and Gamma 2 is trying to adjust to everything that Krillin is doing. So far, Krillin's plan is working, as every time that Gamma 2 fights and figures out his fighting style and begins to break through his barriers, Krillin just changes his style completely. He is a master of martial arts, and he has been around so many legendary fights and has seen so many ways of people fighting at their peak performance. It wouldn't be a stretch to say that Krillin almost has a library of fighting styles in his head just from experience alone. One of the good things about being a bystander to all these crazy fights, now that Krillin is defending and fighting equally against an opponent, he is now able to show off all of the things that he has learned throughout the years and to show off his own method of being stronger. This leads to his stage 3 of his technique, which will be called formless, as he switches from one form to another seamlessly. As this fight continues to go on and on, Krillin is sometimes using Yamcha's fighting style, then switching it up to use Goten's fighting style, switching it up to use Vegeta's fighting style. It is a constant switch up of form. Krillin's hyper focus, he's able to see just when the fighting style has become obsolete in a way, and Krillin diverts into another fighting style. Now obviously this can only go on for so long before Krillin runs out of fighting style. It is where Gamma 2 comes back into play and picks it up, where he's finally not getting surprised and has finally gotten all analyzed, and they're fighting more at a standstill now than ever, with Krillin swapping forms and Gamma 2 automatically adjusting to that and using the best method that his supercomputer brain can come up with to combat that fighting style in the most effective way possible. While that is going on, Goten and Trunks are fighting Gamma 1. Gamma 1 is unamused with Goten and Trunks' antics. This actually reminds him a lot of Gamma 2 and is actually making him pretty angry as they're displaying themselves as heroes, almost making fun of what Gamma 2 and Gamma 1 were built for, to be heroes. This is because Goten and Trunks sometimes strike poses before they attack. Right now they are both in Super Saiyan 2, and Gamma 1 doesn't seem too disturbed by this power that they're displaying. Even when it's 2 against 1, he seems to be handling Super Saiyan 2 with relative ease. Eventually, with Trunks saying, "Alright, this is getting us nowhere. Are they going to kick it up or not, Goten?" Goten's like, "Alright, I'll let you go first then." As Goten breaks away and Trunks goes into Super Saiyan 3. Hair turns golden, but then even brighter than that, as Trunks is using his max power form in Super Saiyan 3 as he goes off against Gamma 1, and Gamma 1 is completely thrown off by this attack, as Trunks is leagues stronger than what he was just a moment ago. Gamma 1's records indicate what Super Saiyan 3 is. However, as he's doing the quick calculations in his head, he knows Trunks shouldn't be this powerful. Gamma 1 has to be completely serious here, as he actually can't afford to hold back against Trunks. Their true fight begins, and Trunks is unleashing a barrage of heavy hits, using instant transmission here and there to sneak up on Gamma 1 and going past his guards to unleash devastating blows. However, Gamma 1 is no slouch, as he delivers the pain back blow for blow. And with Gamma 1's supercomputer brain, he quickly understands the way that Trunks fights, and is using that to his advantage, making sure that every move that Trunks does can never really work on Gamma 1 again. So really, Gamma 1 only has to survive one hit at a time in order to limit Trunks' arsenal. In the heat of the battle, they clash with Gamma 1 unleashing a Gamma Buster and Trunks releasing a burning attack, and they're both doing this at point blank range. Two balls of energy clash and explode on impact as they are equally matched. Then Gamma 1 and Trunks in opposite directions of each other, but Gamma 1 came out for the better because Gamma 1 anticipated this and was part of his plan, as he already had an energy shield deployed around him to negate all of that damage. Trunks is starting to tire, and his power is weakening by the minute, as he's been going full throttle for way too long. With Gamma 1 looking slightly hurt, that is when Goten appears and steps in for Trunks and says, "Alright, I got this," as Goten goes into Super Saiyan 3 max stamina, as Goten's hair is also golden but very pale and dull, as all the energy is conserved. Still the full power of a regular Super Saiyan 3, but can fight for far longer. Goten begins his fight against Gamma 1. Gamma 1 automatically notices that Trunks is way stronger than Goten. However, this doesn't mean he can go easy. Goten is displaying how he's able to use all the various ways of him using insane amounts of power and a lot of techniques without losing really any energy. He's almost like an android of himself. As Goten is using instant transmission, clones, all of them shooting Kamehamehas, Goten is basically making up the difference of quality with quantity, as it's just an endless barrage and the cyclones of energy back and forth, and this is actually almost giving Gamma 1 even more problems than what Trunks did. Back over to Gamma 2 and Krillin's fight. Gamma 2 is slowly pulling ahead in the fight and is forcing Krillin to take more and more hits as it goes on, as Krillin is shifting between forms in order to mitigate all the damage. This is pushing Krillin to the brink, but funnily enough, this is exactly what Krillin needed in order to perfect his technique, as Krillin's focus is completely on how to win this fight and how to best utilize everything that he knows in conjunction with each other. And it really hits his apex when Gamma 2 yells out in frustration, saying, "I can't believe I have to really use everything I got. You're supposed to be a grunt!" And the battle actually kicks up a whole nother notch, as Krillin's Kaioken times 20 is suddenly not enough. As Gamma 2 decides to dig deeper and focus all of his energy on speed and power, not really giving Krillin the chance to really mount up a proper defense. Krillin's back is against the wall here. He's doing a lot of things at the same time, constantly keeping focus of what Gamma 2 is doing, using Kaioken at times 30 now, which is reaching pretty much close to his max and is already causing a huge strain on his body. And then he's healing on top of that in order to not destroy his body too much. And then using his massive library of forms to figure out what is the best technique / move to do at that moment. Krillin's brain is on fire as there's just so much to manage. He truly can't remember the last time he has ever had a fight like this, and he's putting it all on the line. His mind is working in hyperdrive, his body is struggling to keep up, but throughout it all he does keep his insane focus. He thinks about all of the things that he has learned throughout the years, the teachings from Master Roshi, and suddenly clicks. All three of his forms seem to work together seamlessly. At first he was kind of using them and managed them all in different ways, but now throughout the heat of this battle, the forms has finally melded together as he has gotten used to them and is being forced to perform higher and higher in order to just survive. Krillin says, I guess it's do or die. And then all of a sudden, Gamma 2's punch misses entirely as Krillin broke through Gamma 2 defenses and punched him straight in the gut. Gamma 2 is momentarily shocked and then he goes in for another attack, but Krillin has already switched forms seamlessly. Krillin has already switched forms seamlessly. Already predicted what Gamma 2 is going to do and is attacking Gamma 2 in various different ways, even using instant transmission here and there to truly get Gamma 2 off guard. As Krillin is going from form to form to form in an endless flow. Krillin is like a raging wave where he's everywhere at once. You feel the mounting pressure, but yet you can't fight back as all three forms have melded together into one true technique. Something similar to UI, but not on that godly level status. This is the peak of mortal martial arts, a heightened state of awareness where you use everything at the same time, devoid of all motion, and truly focus on the moment, not wasting anything there. Very similar to UI. Some martial arts will call this the flow state. Some would even have dreamed or thought they have reached it themselves, but none like this. No, this is truly what the flow state would look like as a mortal utilizes everything they have, perfect harmony and without pause. And with this technique finally clicking together for Krillin, this fight has been completely turned on its head as Gamma 2 suddenly can't even get a punch off as every move he throws is completely interrupted with Krillin is flowing in and out of all of Gamma 2's attacks, coming in at just the right moment and backing out before Gamma 2 can even think to retaliate. A lot of counters are thrown Gamma 2's way. Gamma 2 is just getting an insane beating. That is when Gamma 2 hears it. Creator Dr. Hedo has sent out a distress beacon that rings out in Gamma 2 and Gamma 1's head. This is only used when he's in great trouble. And Gamma 2 looks around, pauses for a second and looks around, can't find his creator anywhere, but does look back at the headquarters. Just as Gamma 2 looks over at the building, an explosion happens from within the building where Magenta is in some type of powered up suit going off against one of the soldiers, who then takes off his helmet and reveals that it is Gohan and who has blown up this part of the building. Dr. Hedo has been knocked off down to the side somewhere, seemingly hurt from an explosion, but not terribly so as he has his own protections going on. Can also be made seen, but very slightly, is in the back of that room that Magenta is trying to protect is the face of Cell Max. It seems that Gohan the Intruder has found the room and maybe has caused an explosion, but none of that really matters as Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 sees Dr. Hedo on the ground in danger and they go into a flying rage. This is their creator, the person they cherish the most in the entire world, on the ground looking like he's about to be destroyed. Supervillain is down there in the depths of their hideout, looking to potentially destroy Cell Max before he's even released. Gamma 2 and Gamma 1 takes a second to look at each other. Even though they're very far from each other, they can still see each other with perfect accuracy, with perfect sight, still see each other clearly, and they both know what they're thinking. This is the worst case scenario. They're struggling, and Gohan and Piccolo and Goku are supposed to be the top tier, and yet they're losing on these guys. Dr. Hedo is in great danger. There's only one thing left to do, is to give it everything they have in order to force Gohan out of the way and to win. Cell Max has to come out in order to defeat these villains. And with that in mind, they both nod, knowing what they have to do, turn back to their opponent and go into overdrive. Since blue energy radiates from Gamma 2 and the red energy radiates from Gamma 1, as their cores are being overloaded and their power has surged. Their eyes are filled with energy as they yell out, and then they charge their opponent. Then they both charge their opponent. Unnatural, unseen before speed. Gamma 2 punches Krillin, and even though Krillin executed the perfect dodge, Gamma 2 shifted even faster and still connected, and then Krillin still executed the perfect block, but his arm still broke because there's too much difference in power at this exact moment. The same happens for Goten, as Goten gets knocked flying, nowhere near strong enough to handle this overbearing power. Everyone wastes no time and dives straight towards Trunks, and Trunks, even with max power, only held off Gamma 2 for like a split second before Gamma 2 goes past Trunks' defense and buries him into the ground. Krillin, Goten, and Trunks both seemingly out of the way for a split moment. Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 both rushes towards Gohan's direction, making Gohan look up and getting ready to prepare to fight both of them at the same time. So Krillin teleports in front of Gamma 2, going Kaioken times 55 his maximum, really past his maximum in order to hold off Gamma 2, yelling at Gohan to continue forward and do not worry about them. Same with Goten and Trunks. They're both together, using their spirit control to teleport in and to make an army of clones, as they both say tirelessly, "We got this, Gohan, we'll take this guy down." And it looks like the real Goten and Trunks are about to get into position to use the fusion dance. Everything is on the line. Gohan is worried about his family and friends, but he turns back over, putting trust into them, and looks back at Cell Max and charges up a Kamehameha. Gohan says, "I will not be holding back this time." The fight has reached a chaotic state, everyone trying to give Gohan enough time to do what he has to do. Everybody here, villain or hero, is focused on their own goals and is putting everything they have into the final moments of this fight. Who will come out on top? Whose will to do what they believe is right will become the truth? We'll find out on the next one, as that is where we'll end it. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Things are about to get pretty crazy, as Cell Max has now entered the picture and the Gammas have both reached overdrive. The fight very much seems like it's at its end. We'll only see how it goes next time. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a like and comment down below if you did, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.